Dear students, let us begin with the second part of the lesson on India as a global power, in which we will learn about India and Asia Pacific, multipolar world, South Asia and Southwest Indian Ocean. Let us begin with India's role in Asia Pacific. China's perception about the Asia Pacific geopolitical scenario will determine to a certain level India's success in that region in the near future. For instance, China is deeply suspicious of the anti-China directions of the developing India-Japan security relations. The emerging larger geopolitical picture points to China having undiminished fears of a US strategy to contain it with the help of its allies like Japan and partners like India. Such thinking definitely has a bearing on China's position regarding its acceptance of India as a partner in the regional integration process. China has reservations on giving leading roles in the East Asia integration process to outsiders, and India is familiar with this Chinese outlook, and it appears to be well aware of the existing limitations to the regional integration. India recognizes these limitations and is actively pursuing bilateral engagements with the East Asian nations to strengthen its regional position. Thus, while remaining keen to promote economic partnership at regional levels, India is also moving ahead with strengthening cooperation with the East Asian nations bilaterally. India's conclusion of several FTAs and promotion of trade ties with individual regional nations may prove this point. Most importantly, such bilateral engagements are no longer merely of economic nature, but are gradually becoming political and military aspects which cause worries to China. India is conscious of the reality that it is still not in a position to match China's deeper bilateral engagements with regional nations of the Asia Pacific. India is simultaneously working towards building partnership with the United States in addition to getting closer to other regional powers like Japan, Singapore and groups like the ASEAN, while also taking care that it is not seen as belonging to any anti-China grouping. The trade ties between India and China are on the upswing, but the process towards signing a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement with China is yet to be concluded. The more support India gets from the ASEAN, China's neighbors and Japan, stronger will be the position of India to neutralize China's influence in the region. China has noted with apprehensions that India and Japan have comprehensively boosted regional cooperation in the economic and security domain in recent years. Relations between the two countries have moved to a multilateral level and have become much more broad-based with the inclusion of the US and Australia in the often called Arc of Freedom and Prosperity. China sees the Arc of Freedom and Prosperity concept as a strategy to join its allies to contain China's rise in the Asia Pacific region. It views it as a game plan by both India and Japan to limit China's power in the region. The India-Japan Defense Ministers meeting in Tokyo in November 2011 and the conclusion of the first round of India-Japan-US trilateral talks in Washington in December 2011 have confirmed the Chinese misgivings. Apart from the larger countries of the region, India needs to boost its relations with South Korea and Taiwan in the economic and trade sectors, as well as strengthen its bilateral ties in political and security fields. Strategic partnerships should be concluded with long-term planning and with a convergence and complementarity of goals and objectives of their respective foreign policy aims. Bilateralism will need to be strengthened with each and every country in the Asia Pacific region, which will facilitate India to have greater cooperation at multilateral level in the region. Meanwhile, India's endeavors to carve a role for itself in the region and the rivalry and competition with China may intensify in the coming years. India is actively pursuing a multifaceted approach, balancing its partnership, expanding bilateral engagements, and seeking to establish itself as a key player in regional stability and development. However, competition and rivalry with China remain central to this evolving regional landscape. India in the multipolar world. India's rise in the eyes of the world began with its 1991 economic liberalization reforms that led to the economy booming. These reforms ushered in a new era of economic growth, opening up markets and attracting foreign investment. Today, India is the foremost economic power in the Indian Ocean region and has the region's most developed military. Over the last decades or so, India has presented itself as a benign and cooperative security provider in the region. It has engaged in joint military exercises, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief operations with neighboring countries. However, given its vast soft power potential combined with ascending hard power capabilities, India is expected to take more responsibilities upon its shoulders than it undertakes at present. The lookist and the actist policies undertaken by successive Indian governments have ensured closer economic and security relationships with the countries of Southeast Asia. Let us discuss about India's role in South Asia. In South Asia, India has control over the foreign policies of neighboring nations. They come to India first for aid and development, or at least do not allow external nations to lure them with assistance in order to undertake activities that are detrimental to India's national interest. India intervened in the civil war of Sri Lanka and the attempted coup in Maldives to ensure the stability of their national governments during 1983 to 1990 and 1988 respectively. The Indian Ocean waters surrounding southern India, Sri Lanka and the Maldives are susceptible to threats of maritime terrorism and piracy. Therefore, India provides substantial training to Sri Lanka and Maldives to counter piracy and counter terrorism, and also trains them in those three exercises to enhance interoperability among their navies. India has built a chain of 26 coastal radar networks in the Maldives archipelago and integrated them with the Indian coastal radar system to better integrate maritime security protection. With Nepal and Bhutan, India maintains regular exchanges of trade and economic aid and investments, and Nepal is heavily reliant upon Indian ports for the transit of its maritime trade. India has significant investments in Afghanistan and has concluded a number of successful projects. For instance, the construction of Afghanistan's parliament building, besides building several roads, dams, schools and welfare projects. India and Pakistan have maintained trade relations since their independence. Ongoing disputes, particularly over Kashmir, have resulted in strained diplomatic ties and sporadic conflicts. Let us discuss about India's role in the Southwest Indian Ocean. In the farther Southwest Indian Ocean, comprising several island ocean states, India has emerged as a maritime security provider. India has developed a security presence through the provision of training, equipment such as patrol boats, aircraft and coastal surveillance radar systems, conducting hydrographic surveys and the exchange of security advisors. India has patrolled Mauritian coastal waters, gifted and serviced patrol boats and performed hydrographic surveys at the behest of Mauritian government. India also assists Seychelles with maritime patrolling, hydrographic research and supplying surveillance aircrafts. In Madagascar, India reportedly has had a listening post since 2007, which is intended to relay intelligence back to commands in Mumbai and Kochi. India, though an independent deployer, has coordinated with the task forces of the United States and the EU in controlling piracy in the region. India has regularly escorted ships of international agencies carrying food supplies and relief material in piracy-infested waters of the region, including the recent escorting by INS Trikand for MV Anika, a UN-affiliated ship transporting relief material. I hope you understood about India and Asia Pacific, multipolar world, South Asia and the Southwest Indian Ocean. We will discuss about India's role in Southeast Asia, Indo-Pacific, India's role during COVID-19 and in mitigating GHG emissions and India's soft power in the next video. Thank you.